How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, you have a 3D printer? What do you make with it? Silly trinkets and plastic dragons?" Well, yeah, but 3D printers are so much more than just toy factories. With a good, fully enclosed 3D printer and maybe a nice heated chamber, you can make actual tools tough enough to withstand real use around the house or your garage. When you unlock materials like polycarbonate or glass-filled nylon, you can leave that toy box behind. Today we're taking a look at practical printing real functional tools, not just bed scrapers or that one goofy hammer I printed a while back. This thing is too light to drive anything bigger than a thumbtack. Besides tools, we're also going to talk about the affordable filaments you can use on your practical prints and some helpful settings to make them print just right. This is our favorite frying from Printables, and it only takes 14 grams of filament to print. That's about as much as a Benchy, but way more useful. The utility knife is from Singh Designs. It's a retractable box cutter that takes a standard razor blade held securely with these two pegs, and it has a hole for a keychain up here and a notch down here to cut string. The notch is set back enough that it can't touch your fingers. Totally safe. You don't need any tools to assemble this, just a touch of lubricant, which you can borrow from your printer. Since we can get a pack of 100 blades for less than 10 bucks, every drawer in the house holds one of these. In fact, let me show you. You see, every time my husband has an end of a spool, he prints a bunch of these little knives. These were printed in my favorite super inexpensive polycarbonate from Polymaker, Poly-like PC. The material has an excellent stiffness and heat resistance. Plus, it's translucent, so you can make some really cool lamps with it if you wanted to. It's only $29.99 for a 1 kilogram spool, making this the most affordable exotic filament you can get your hands on. Polycarbonate likes to print hot and slow with no fan. Now, we've been running at 280C on the nozzle and 110 on the bed. Polymaker says to run that thing really slow, but we found that it works pretty good at regular Core XY speeds, and we just slow down the walls a pinch. Every printer comes with a set of hex keys. Now, if you're lucky, they come clipped together in a little set, but more often you're just going to get a handful of unmarked hex keys in a little baggie. And then when you actually need one, you're stuck trying to figure out which key fits in the screw, and you end up going through the whole pile until you get to the right size. This may seem like overkill, but these Hex Key T-Handles from Glenn-o-vitS 3D, I hope I said that right, are a real lifesaver. We found this file on printables.com. The files are pre-marked for sizes from 1.5 millimeters all the way up to 10 millimeters. I printed the ones from 1.5 to 3 millimeters using what might just be my favorite ABS from Fusion Filaments. These files are well thought out. The parts screw together perfectly, and the numbers always come up in the correct orientation. They work great, and they give me some extra torque when I need it. Now, if you want to make an impact on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you took a second to click that like button. Thanks. If you need a saw to get into really tight places a regular hacksaw can't reach, Phil Caruso has you covered. This is his hacksaw handle with a guard, and it's one of 4 versions that you can pick from. It comes with or without the guard and with or without heat set inserts. Now, Rick put this one together with 3 heat set inserts and a couple M3 screws. The design is really clever. It prints in 2 parts and it doesn't need any supports. It uses an M4 screw inside the handle to keep the blade in place, and then you lock it together with those 3 screws on the outside. There's also a jig you can print to keep the handle straight while you install those inserts, but it's not really needed if you got a steady hand. The handle is a good size that's comfortable to use for both of us. And now this can be printed out of anything since the handle doesn't take a lot of stress. You just need filament that'll stick to the bed nice and flat, so the 2 halves will fit together perfectly. We use Polymaker's PET GF, which is PET, no G, with glass fiber. This is from the Fiberon lineup, and it's really strong and durable. But unlike regular PET G, it has a lower level of moisture absorption, but the same superior resistance to outdoor temperatures and UV rays. And unlike some engineering grade filaments, this comes in 6 colors, although 2 of them are gray. It's honestly a little bit overkill for tool handles, but since it's only $30 a kilogram, it's not a big splurge to use it on everyday prints. It does need a little bit of extra heat on the nozzle. We printed this at 310, but the bed is only at 80C. It prints at regular Core XY speeds without any issues at all, and the glass fibers keep the material exactly where the nozzle puts it without fear of warping. Since this is filled with fiber, it's going to be harsh on your nozzle, so make sure you're using hardened steel or better. We've been talking about high-temp filaments today, but sometimes you want a practical print in some really impractical materials. That's where today's sponsor comes in, PCBWay. If your project calls for CNC machine aluminum or ultra-strong resin, they've got you covered. They're famous for high-quality circuit boards, but their rapid prototyping service can be a real game changer for makers. Just upload your STL files and you can get professional industrial-grade prints with insane turnaround times. Hit the link in the description below to get an instant quote on your next build at PCBWay. Thanks, PCBWay. Sometimes you don't have the right tool for the job, or you need a tool that doesn't even exist. In less time than it takes to drive over to Harbor Freight, you can print this particular little oddball, a tiny speed socket. This 1/4-inch speed socket driver came in handy when Rick was repairing our dishwasher. A regular socket wrench was way too big to fit in the space, but this one worked out great. It's from Cascao on Thingiverse, and it can fit a 1/4 inch, 1/2, or 3/8 inch socket, depending upon how you scale it. There's even a spring to hold the socket in place. And because 3D printing lets you customize your tools, we were able to add a little stick on it in Tinkercad to make sure it could reach that annoying part in the dishwasher. We printed these super strong using extra walls and Bamboo Labs PA6GF. Since the dishwasher was in pieces when we needed to print the tool, we were in a bit of a hurry and we didn't bother to dry out the nylon. So it did come out a little bit gloopy, but that's okay. It did the job, even if it did need a little coaxing to get back the sockets. This special nylon is one of the more pricey materials on today's video, and it's $60 for a full kilo. Nylon can be a real pain to print, and the glass fiber in here really makes all the difference in the world when it comes to dimensional stability. That means it didn't warp. Plus, it looks pretty cool. Like the other fiber-filled materials, this one's going to be harsh on your nozzle, so make sure you're using hardened steel or better. We bought a bunch of these self-sticky sandpaper discs when our local Harbor Freight was clearancing them out. Now they're meant for power tools, but you can use them however you want. And we've been using them just like regular sheets of sandpaper. A recent project required quite a bit of sanding, so I whipped up a palm-sized sander in Tinkercad using their new Revolve sketch tool. If you haven't played with this yet, it's really fun. The print came out great, but I might have picked the wrong material. This is PLA carbon fiber from Bamboo. Carbon fiber in PLA is mainly for the aesthetics because it doesn't add any strength or toughness. It just looks a bit fuzzy, so it does a really good job of hiding the layer lines. This mossy green is really pretty, and it'd probably make a great looking planter. But carbon fiber is more than just abrasive to your nozzle. It can actually shed tiny little fibers. I did test this one out on my hand, and sure enough, when I took a closer look, I found a couple of black specks on my skin. Honestly, I don't know how troubling this is, but I wanted to let you know so you could decide for yourself. I think I might reprint this one in normal PLA because a palm sander is something you're going to have to hold tightly for a long while, and we don't need to worry about splinters. Not when there's so many other great filaments out there to choose from. This stuff is $31.99 a spool, so it's a little more than your typical PLA. So there you have it, 5 practical tools that you can print yourself and use today. All the links are in the description below. I'd love to hear about your favorite practical prints, so let's head on down to the comments section and chat. Until next time, happy printing. I'm sorry, I still love you.